What's up, guys? We made it to the introduction of the villain for this My Hero Academia season, or short arc, I guess. So his name's Gentle. He performs gentle crimes, and yeah, we'll get into that. So let's get started. So before any of that happens, we get the introduction that's kind of interesting. It's very much a throwback to the early portions of the season and the early portions of the series, which I'm not going to complain because it's always nice to see stuff like that. And if it's going to be a very short amount of time and then we get into new animation, I'm all about it because I don't really care for fairy tale length recaps. So whatever, it was fine. I'm happy with it. So this episode starts out back in the classroom as we have for the past few episodes, and I'm fine with that. I'm actually really enjoying this little slice of life portion of the series, and it's about the whole festival that's going on. Now, I'm starting to see a lot of things through this series that will probably come up even later in this season that were being shown in the opening. For example, we have them kind of trying to determine what they're going to do for the main event that they're going to put on for the festival. And it starts out with, right there, Ashita dancing. And that was pretty awesome, and they show that her dancing style and her ability to dance in general, her hobby lines up with hero work because she's able to use it in combat. And Deku kind of wants to be taught how to do that so that he can fight a little better, and so does Aoyama. And we see Aoyama actually gets pretty good at it by the sort of middle to end of this episode. Deku just dances like a robot. And when the hobbies are brought up, they go to Jiro. And she's very sort of shy about her hobby, which we find out why later, but she's obviously very into music. And this becomes very important later as they're trying to decide what they're going to do for this festival. But anyway, so talking about the festival comes up because we have Aizawa telling them that they need to pick an event to do, and that, you know, they're not going to just cancel it because it's very important for not just the hero group, because the hero group, they sort of shine during the sports festival, but it's the general studies, business, and support classes that really shine during this portion of the series, or this portion of the festival season. So it's very important, and they're not going to cancel it, which I like. But then they have to all decide on one, and there are so many different ones that are brought up. Bakugo brings up a death match. Deku wants to do hero quizzing. It's all over the place. Oh yeah, Kaminari wants to do a maid cafe too, which was kind of funny. And we never got to see at all what was going to happen with Mineta because he's basically tied up by Suya immediately. And they kind of narrow a few down, but not many. And it's actually kind of funny because we just see how quickly Ida loses control of the class when he brings up these options. It's just, nobody wants to listen, everybody just wants to throw out ideas and then debate over those ideas, and it's just really funny. But anyway, they can't decide, and so Aizawa tells them that if they can't decide by the next class, that he's going to make it a public lecture, which is basically just them being taught in front of everybody, which is kind of funny. And they're all like, he can't be serious, which I think Aizawa would be pretty serious about that. But of course, once they can't decide, and they're now pressured by the fact that they're going to have to do a public lecture if they don't actually decide on something, we get back to the dorms, and they're still trying to decide because obviously they don't want a public lecture to be what ends up being their main thing. And so they bring up a dance contest, they bring up all the other options and kind of throw it around a bit. And we get to see like Bakugo and Todoroki. I just love the fact that they keep showing them in like these really funny scenarios, just because it does sort of lighten the characters a little bit. Like, you still obviously know who the characters are and what their demeanor actually is, but it's just funny to see them in those predicaments as like what ifs, you know? Like, I always love the what if styles of things, and that was perfect. The dance thing, so yeah, pretty funny. But Todoroki's idea kind of revolves around like sort of live music and things like that, and they all look at Jiro. And it's funny because now we know what Jiro's sort of embarrassment and outburst was earlier in this episode, which was the fact that she doesn't feel as though her hobby is anything more than just a hobby, whereas with the dancing and other things like that, those hobbies can be applied directly to the hero work. And with some encouragement and realizing that, you know, having the music being part of the persona of a hero and that kind of stuff would mean that the hobby could be a part of hero work, you know, making people feel better, giving them something to listen to, sort of be, you know, inspired by, whatever the case may be, you can still make music a part of the hero work. And that sort of encourages her, and she's very good apparently at teaching people as well. So that's that's a plus. But she was definitely embarrassed by it. She wasn't really about it. But after a bit of thinking and showing that everybody was actually interested in having her teach them how to do something like that, she agrees to teach them. But in the background, the video that they had originally put up had ended, and we then see it cut to the next video, just like YouTube always does. And it cuts to the next video, and it's the main villain. But it's interesting because with Gentle's introduction, and seeing him in the video, but with his introduction in general, we have more of an incentive to look at the ending title pictures because there's a lot more going on in them than I had initially thought, which is pretty cool. Now, after they've decided to perform live music, which, by the way, I love Aizawa's picture in the mid-credit roll thing because it's just sort of like a weird picture of him. But anyway, after we get past the middle break of the episode, we now have the follow-up to Eri, because we know that she's awake now, she doesn't have a fever anymore, and her first main request, her first main concern was, how are the people who saved me doing? How are they doing? And we have, it's kind of interesting because obviously Deku and Mirio show up. Sir Night-Eye can't show up, and she doesn't know that Sir Night-Eye died in the process of saving her, which that's more than what they can really tell her at this point, because we see that Deku is sort of trying to talk with her, make her feel a little better, but there's still that looming shadow that Overhaul has put on her that just hasn't quite gone away. There's definitely going to be more of a development of her character, I hope, but it's going to have to happen after these initial traumatizing, these fearful emotions that she has held in. They have to be worked with and sort of relieved first, because she spent a lot of time, basically her whole life, not knowing anything else about life other than being picked apart and put back together. So much so that when Deku and Mirio say that they saved her because they want to see this girl smile, she doesn't know how to smile. It's the most precious thing to see her try to smile, but she doesn't know how. It's actually like a very sad scene, even though it is kind of cute to see her try to pull her face to smile and stuff. It's very sad, the actual implications of that. Yeah, it's also funny to see that even with Mirio having lost his powers, he's sort of accepted that. And I love the fact that he's accepted it, but his personality has not changed, because he brings her a fruit basket. He tries to guess her fruit, and he guesses entirely wrong on what her favorite fruit is, because when she says apples, he goes, "I knew it," even though he was saying that I think it was peaches before that. So that was kind of funny, and they cut the apples up. And this is something, again, I was saying about the opening things having sort of a play out in the actual season. This is where one of the things that I see is just so adorable. And we see it in the opening, and I have a feeling it's going to pull a lot of heartstrings when it actually happens later in the season. So Mirio cuts up the apples and puts them aside so that she can eat them, and we have this whole moment of her not even knowing Deku's name, even though he was the one who utilized her ability and sort of gave her a different perspective on her powers being a blessing, not a curse. And it's rather interesting that with all of that, that is something that Deku really should have sort of learned, or rather, I guess he still has that to learn, which is, that I'm, bring up that he is Deku, he's here to save the day, like, make them feel comfortable. But in that scenario, it was fight first, which obviously I understand why it would have been fight first, but it was fight first and then kind of figure out the rest later. And Mirio, on the other hand, brought up that his name was Lemillion, so she knew who Lemillion was, she didn't know who Deku was. She brings that up. Deku tells her her name and all that kind of stuff. And as they sort of talk, there's this realization that Deku has that she can technically leave the hospital for at least a day, as long as she's under the supervision of why did I forget Aizawa's name for a minute? Anyway, yeah, as long as Aizawa is supervising, she can leave for at least a day. And because of that, Deku kind of goes and asks Aizawa if she can come to the festival. And this is one of the things I love, because she clearly has or wants to have some sweets. She likes sweets, I assume, or at least she has a sweet tooth, because they're describing candied apples to her. And as they're describing it, it's the most adorable thing. She starts to drool over it. It's just adorable. And so Deku, Mirio, and Aizawa are going to try to get the principal on board to let her come to the festival. and just be there for the day and get to sort of experience what it's like to have a great day as a regular person, as opposed to basically spending her entire life being treated like an experiment. It's also kind of funny too, because Mirio calls it their date, which it's kind of funny when you like play into it like that, of sort of being cute and sort of like, oh yeah, you're a big girl kind of deal, which I get. Deku didn't really get it. And I love the fact too, like Mirio's energy, the way they show Mirio's energy is awesome, just because it shows how over the top he is as a person. He spins around after Deku gives him the idea to take her to the festival. He spins around, and you see like the wind of him spinning like blow her hair back. Like he is easily one of my favorite characters in this series, and I love him. But anyway, so they have that idea, and they're going to try to play into that. And then we get to the big sort of reveal of our new villain for the series. This is Gentle. And apparently he's been posting videos of his crimes, and it's been filmed by his compatriot. So yeah, this is going to be where things are going to get a little more interesting, because I'm not 100% sure what his goals are yet. Like, he clearly has something in his head about either Deku or Mirio, or in this case, Eri, possibly. I'm not sure, because he says money is not the sort of goal of his crimes, because he commits a crime to steal from a convenience store, and then a bunch of heroes show up, and then he uses some unknown ability, we don't know what it is yet, to incapacitate all of them. But whatever it is, there's dust or smoke or something everywhere. And after that, we see them on top of a building talking about kind of what they're going to be doing, and that the plan is unfolding and that kind of stuff with, what is her name, La Brava, and then of course we have Gentle. And it's funny, he's such a odd and kind of funny character from what I've seen, because like he goes to pour tea and he's standing on a windy building, so for some reason in this instance of the anime physics applies. He goes to pour the tea and the wind just blows it aside and blows it into La Brava's face, and then it blows it into his eye, and he's a funny character, and he's interesting, I guess. And then after that introduction, it's over, but we do have a new sort of look at those pictures at the end, because obviously we have things like, let me grab my iPad. So like the ending pictures, we've got All Might winning the UA Sports Festival, we've got the Rabbit Girl, we've also got the elementary school students from the previous episode, Present Mike on the next one, along with Aizawa, a character who I don't think we really know who that is yet, as well as Mirio and Tamaki. Then we have the, yeah, there it is. So we've got Gentle and La Brava both showing up in two different pictures, as well as this is where Toga shows up in this ending here. On the same slide as her, we have Gentle without his mustache and goatee, and we have La Brava. And then, because I was already kind of in the mode of looking through to try to find some more details that I didn't see before, we have the Todoroki family, of course. We've got the older sister, I guess the older brother. We've got Shoto's mom, and then of course we have Endeavor. And we have the hawk or eagle character, and that is a weird picture. I don't know exactly what's going on there. But then below that, this is kind of interesting. We have below that a picture that's just burned, which is sort of, I'm not sure what that means, but it's a burned picture. It's on the same page as Todoroki and the rest of them. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, yeah, apart from that, then we get to the preview for the next episode, which looks like everybody's learning how to play some instruments. And I'm very excited for that, because everybody said that Bakugo's on drums, and if that is the case, I'm going to have my new favorite character of the series, because drummers for life, man. I love it. But either way, guys, having this slice of life episode is just really refreshing. Have this slice of life arc is really refreshing, and I'm just enjoying every minute of it, and I hope you guys are too. Definitely stick around, because I'm going to be doing more of these reviews as they come out as frequently as possible, and I'm just super excited to see where this series goes now that we've been introduced to the villain of the arc. And that'll be it. So thanks for watching, guys. I actually ran it all the way to the end of the video, so that's perfect. Otherwise, guys, I'll see you on the next video. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. There's a link for that down below. And I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there, and have a good one. And a brand new, voiceover, again, for an ad that is the same, that nobody's going to watch. But hey, who cares? Because you know what? I want to pitch the fact that I sell shirts, and you guys should absolutely buy them. Look at how cool these designs are. Like, come on, guys. Just one, maybe. I'll put an ad out, maybe. Or maybe a special. Keep an eye out if you want a special. That's my watch going off because I'm just recording this on the fly, but whatever. Go buy a shirt, please. Just please.